All yours.
Okay, so basically what we've got now is the court filings, and these are actually first provided to the Financial Times. But what we have seen in those is that several days prior to the collapse of FTX, one of the most senior people at FTX was already tipping off authorities in the Bahamas about possible misuse of funds. So this executive is someone called Ryan Salame, and essentially he was the former co-CEO at FTX Digital Markets. And basically he told regulators in the Bahamas on November 11, so 2 days before the insolvency proceedings actually started, that client assets were being transferred to Alameda to cover financial losses there. And so on top of that, Salame also alleged that only 3 people had the authority to authorize such a transaction, and that was Sam Bankman-Fried, the former head of engineering or executive Nishad Singh, and the FTX co-founder Gary Wang.
Okay. That's a lot to unpack, really, of just how far they went to try to mask some of these account details in some ways.
Yeah, and we're starting to get a lot more details coming through on that as well, the sort of ways that they were circumnavigating official protocols here. So essentially Bloomberg's seen some internal documentation from FTX, and that focuses on GitHub, which is essentially a sort of repository where companies and software developers can use and store and share code. And so what we've seen from this documentation is that this GitHub account, which had the name of Nishad Singh, so the former executive or engineering director, and it seems that he authored code to hide Alameda's ballooning liabilities. So this account had annotated code snippets, and these included certain phrases like career KYC, BYD expenses count, and that documentation, which was reviewed by Bloomberg, was later tied to a career expenses account. And this was also something picked up by the CFTC in their lawsuit, and they're basically saying that that so-called Korean account enjoyed the same privileges of Alameda's main account and sub-accounts, but was also exempted from parts of FTX's risk management practices.
And all these things do paint a fairly bad picture of the industry, right? So I'm wondering how that narrative sort of went into the discussions in the U.S. Senate, for example. Was this bad behavior by someone, or was this the industry?
Yeah, that's really the ongoing debate, especially with lawmakers, because, we did have that hearing in the Senate on Wednesday, and there's really 2 different takes on this. So, for instance, we heard from the Senate Banking Committee Chair, that's Sherrod Brown, and he basically said that if we're going to learn from FTX's meltdown, then you really need to take a look at all of the conflicts of interest that can happen at these centralized exchanges that are carrying out multiple business functions. And so he says that maybe we need to think about giving more disclosures to customers, investors. They really understand how a token or a crypto platform is operating. So that could maybe looking at existing regulations around banks or securities laws, for instance. But then on the flip side to that, you have others in the industry, including the top Republican, for instance, Pat Toomey, on the banking committee, and he basically says don't treat FTX as being something that's emblematic of the entire industry, that is just a lone bad actor, and actually there's a lot of promise in this sector.